What is the vision, what you want to achieve with your business function? That's really the starting point. And then look at the customer, the stakeholder, the people you engage with. What is really now their expectation? What is it? How you can really make a difference and help them? On the customer side, it's key to sell. On the procurement side, you need to find the right suppliers. You need to find reliable suppliers. You have now new topics you need to work on. Innovations is a good one in this regard. Sustainability, a new topic where you also need partners and also build on something.
Thanks so much for joining today on the latest edition of The Never-Ending Climb for Stronger Supply Chain and Procurement for Companies Running SAP. Today we have a special guest, Dr. Marcell Vollmer. He is a business doctor. And my favorite thing about this is it is a reflection of his deep experience. Marcell was the Chief Procurement Officer at SAP. He went on to become the COO and Chief Digital Officer at SAP to help bring that experience into the products there. He's then gone on to discover a love of startups. And he did that on his journey through Chief Innovation Officer at Celonis and a big role at a consulting firm. I have huge respect for the career, the experience, and the vision for the future that Marcell brings. Marcell, thank you so much for joining today.
Thanks for having me, Sean. It's a great pleasure being here today.
So one of the things that we were talking about was around there's the future of technology, but then there's also the future for procurement. And there's few people that have had the opportunity to work at large organizations and consulting and in and out of that SAP space, but also a procurement professional. And, with that experience as a chief procurement officer, I think about this journey that we've had from like letters to, fax and EDI and email and portals and networks and add-ons and APIs. And there's so many different ways for organizations to collaborate and so many different ways for organizations to bring that, intake to procure and procure to pay capability that companies want. Where would you suggest procurement leaders look to get a better sense of like what's going on here and what do I need to be paying attention to?
Well, Sean, that's really a great question. And by seeing the magnitude, what is out there, on the one side, it changes what we see in supply chain. We have seen even that one single ship can bring the entire trade between Europe and Far East to a standstill, the Evergreen, the Ever Given, which got stuck in the Suez Canal. So you really need to ensure that you can get, first of all, access to all the information, all the relevant data. On the other side, you need also to ensure that you define the right vision. What is it really what you want to do? Because you can't look in all the aspects. We discussed it earlier that there are more than 600 different procurement solutions out there. So therefore, which one do you want to buy? You need advice. You need to get the guidance also what to do. And I think to bring all of this together, one answer, what I would see is definitely also asking experts, also sharing expertise from others, best practices, what they have gained. And of course, consultants can help you here, senior advisors can help you here. What I try to do is basically leveraging my knowledge and bring it in on how to really navigate through the different uncertainties. I don't have an answer to that, to be very fair. The only one is getting access, transparency, that you really use the real-time information you have access to. But on the other side also, to look a little bit also what other industries are doing. How can you learn? How can you basically build on what others have done already successfully, to look in state-of-the-art procurement organizations, and probably there's also something in for you in a different industry, process industry, retail industry, whatever industry, or even only indirect spend like I was responsible for at SAP. Its only indirect spend was close to 6 billion. What I was driving, but still a very important chunk of money, what you need to take care of to ensure that you really can drive the best actions out of that, and that you gain also the benefit by leveraging really the purchasing power and also building on automation capabilities what you have. So you need advice to get through this and really navigate the stormy weather we are in right now.
And I think stormy weather feels like such a relevant analogy. When we think about storms, we tend to think about something that's going to, bring some wind, going to bring some rain, might even test the drainage system. And when we're looking at all of these different options and we're hearing about all of the rapid change in technology, we're hearing about artificial intelligence. I think somewhere somebody just said bingo because, of course, if you don't say AI these days, it's like 8 or 9 years ago. If you didn't say HANA at one of the SAP events, somebody probably got fired. Or if you could get through an SAP presentation 9 years ago or 8 years ago without hearing the word HANA, you might have to pay somebody $5. And I love the way it's creating some potential to imagine, right? How we don't just replace people, but how we augment people and bring out their best. And so we were talking a little bit about augmented reality, GPT, large language models. And I remember this study that came out from one of the consultancies of bringing people that might have been kind of average. And when they used GPT, it brought them close to that level of some of their best team members, their most productive, their most insightful, their most effective consultants. When you do that, what does that start to mean for the procurement teams?
John, that's another excellent question, and I like the analogy you came up with on HANA and SAP. HANA was basically SAP's answer to connect a database to an ERP system and really make it one to integrate it to augment the capabilities. And guess what? This is also my answer to your question. Augmenting by using the right technologies our human capabilities in procurement, so too, like it is for other functions, and consultants are basically doing the same with now getting access to artificial intelligence, which is always a little bit one of the buzzwords, totally overused, and everyone needs to use it. Every startup needs to have AI either in the name or basically saying, yes, we are using also AI. What it is at the end, it is very often only a subsection is machine learning, a subsection of that is deep learning. It's basically an algorithm, what we are talking about. And this is something also where I always advise first, don't get confused with all the buzzwords. There's a hype cycle from Gartner, and you mentioned a study which was used by having all these buzzwords, and everyone is starting a project on that. On the one side, it's good, you get attention and you can do something. On the other side, I always advise look really into what is a vision, what you want to achieve with your business function. That's really the starting point. And then look at the customer, the stakeholder, the people you engage with. What is really now their expectation? What is it? How you can really make a difference and help them. On the customer side, it's key to sell. On the procurement side, you need to find the right suppliers. You need to find reliable suppliers. You have now new topics you need to work on. Innovations is a good one in this regard. Sustainability, a new topic where you also need partners and also build on something. So therefore, take the user as a stakeholder in the center of what you're doing, define the processes, define the organizational setup, and then decide on the right systems what you wanna implement. And of course, it can be built on an SAP system with HANA database connected to that. It can be also a ChatGPT, and it can be also something what you use on the artificial intelligence, which basically is providing you insights you haven't had before. But what you always need to consider is think about the people, the change management, what you need to do, the communication, and also how you help them, to train them, to really make them feel comfortable in using now the different technologies. And at the end, what really counts is the value, what you can create, and hopefully you pick the right ones. And yeah, services, consultants, advisors might be one way getting it, best practices, another one. And also overall, you need budget. You need also to ensure that you have the funding and also the resources to ensure that you can build it in and work really with the technology and the access to establish a, I would say, bionic business function, meaning you augment the capabilities what you have and the technology access with the human skills in your organization to really make it one to ensure that you can use the best from both worlds to grow and to really create value.
I love that sense of getting clear on where you're going. And I love seeing organizations break that down into little bite-sized pieces, not trying to bite off the 2 year, $10 million thing, but it doesn't have to be a 7-figure transformation or an 8-figure transformation. Finding things that you can do right now in a few months that make a big difference for 6 figures. And those are such powerful ways to reduce the risk of the change and to reduce the ask, right? The appetite for some of the really big digital transformations has gone down so much. So finding ways for you as a leader to go and advocate for and create the business case for something that's bite-sized, that has less than a 12-month return on investment. And that's one of our team's favorite things to do. And when I hear you talk about being clear on the vision and finding ways to go and make the change happen, finding ways to make the change stick. And I love seeing organizations that take, again, one of my favorite things is seeing change management accomplished through a better user experience and making it so much easier to do it the new way than it was the old way. And, when one of our customers tells us that, oh, it was so much easier, not computer literate, you see a lot of these things, and it was so much easier than what they had before, and they don't see how they could get it wrong, that, like, those are things that just fill my heart with gratitude. And when I think about the opportunity for procurement leaders to look at all of these options that can feel overwhelming, over 600 different solutions that are out there just on one of the analyst reports, and how do you work with, if you're in procurement, how do you work with IT and some of these IT vendors so that you're not boiling the ocean, but you're making sense of it and you're trying to condense it without just kind of going, hey, what is the magic quadrant of something tell me I should look at? But how do you make sense of creating those bite-sized pieces? And where, if you're a procurement leader, where do you encourage people to look to go find those bite-sized pieces that they can bite off in the next 6 to 12 months to really make a difference for their customers in their organization?
Sean, the best answer to this question would be to have a map helping you to navigate like we had in the past, driving our car from A to B. Today we have GPS and we have a lot of technology available to make this ride more comfortable, even not riding by ourselves anymore. This is probably a good comparison also what you need nowadays, because you might not have all the insights and the knowledge like you haven't had before when you were really dependent on a paper-based map or the first digital maps what you had. And this is exactly the same what I would see now in procurement or as a leader in a business. You need also getting the right map. And how can you get it? The best might be really that you get advice from people who have done it before. I think that's an ideal case what you can do. You can also use a case which is not necessarily exactly same industry, but you might use technology or the insights what they have gained to use it for your industry. And we see lots of these examples, and this is really what I love to see, that really someone is transferring the knowledge from one industry to another. Look now at the favorite devices, what we all have, and it's a smartphone. Doesn't matter which brand it is, by the way, but it combines in the meantime more than 40 different technologies. It's a GPS, it is of course, still a mobile. It is also your internet browser. It is your book, what you read. It is your music you listen to. It is the videos you watch. I could continue with that list. I know we don't have so much time for that. But basically, this is really now a combination of the different technologies available. And I believe, as a leader, you should try also not necessarily to build your own smartphone. We know there are not so many Steve Jobs out there. We really need to see what can we do and how can we make this usable for our needs. And this is where I like also seeing that the help what you can get is the navigation and really building and creating a map with what helps you best. And I still would repeat myself by saying that start with the vision, the stakeholder, the process, organization, and IT systems to bring all of that together And let's not forget the people at the end. And the change is absolutely key. You can have the best solutions, and I implemented it by myself. I've seen it. I was so happy to do it in record time. At the end, none was using it. What is it worth? Nothing. And this is really also where you see you need also to ensure that the adoption at the end works, which is key, that you can generate the value and really get the benefit, but also that you can learn and consistently improve and see what is it, what could add value here, what is still a problem, what you can overcome and solve for the future, for the benefit of your business.
I love it. I love it. Without adoption, the value is nothing. I know Jan was on one of these shows just a little while ago, and they recently achieved 95% of all of their submissions coming through digitally through our solution. And
Wow.
it just was beautiful. Marcell, I am so grateful for your time today. If somebody wanted to reach out to you for some advice, for some help, or I know sometimes you help provide keynote speeches, what would be the best way to get in touch with you?
I think the best way to get in touch with me is via LinkedIn, Marcell Vollmer. Just Google my name and you will find me. I look forward to connecting and also engaging in the future. And feel free also to comment here on our interview, what we are doing right now. I look forward to that. Thank you.
Amazing. Marcell, thank you so much. And for everybody else, thank you for joining. We'll see you again for another episode of The Never Ending Climb for a Stronger Supply Chain and Procurement for companies running SAP. Thanks, everyone.